Good afternoon, or good morning, depending upon where you are. Thank you for joining me on this sunny Saturday. Hopefully, you're staying warm. My name is Nicole Saunders. I am the Director of Units and Compliance, and today we're going to review the 2025 AFR process. We have some changes, we have some things that hopefully will make the submission process a little easier for you. If you haven't already, please in the chat, drop your name in where you are joining us from, as well as your unit number. I'm going to pop a poll in so that you can also complete a poll for me so that we can get some insight and feedback in terms of the audience today. Please let me know if you're able to hear me. By typing in the chat, I can hear you. All right, let me see what we can do. I see the chat. I hear the chat is disabled. Thank you. Let me get that working for you. One second.
I changed the settings, Nicole.
Thank you. All right. Are you able to now put in the chat your name, your unit number, and where you are chatting from? I can hear you. Thank you. Perfect. Perfect. Again, thank you for joining us. I hope that we can answer all questions that you have about the upcoming process with this conversation. Please remember to place all of your questions in the Q&A, and then we will work behind the scenes to get all of your questions answered as we go through this. The Units and Compliance team and a few members of our field team is currently on to assist with that. If I could ask that we start with the presentation and remind everyone to absolutely take some time to complete the poll so that we understand exactly our audience. If this is your first time completing the AFR, or if you're a veteran at it and you're completely familiar with the process, I want to also know what role you are so that we can understand better who we are serving today. Bronwyn, if you could begin the presentation, I would appreciate it. Next slide. All right. So I want to start off by saying, yes, we did hear you last year during the Zoom sessions that we held with all of our units. We heard consistent feedback around the upload process, around some of the troubles with the form in terms of accessing and resuming their forms. So what we did and what we changed and what we'll talk through today is around the statement upload process. Treasurers, the process of uploading statements is back in your hands. Secretaries, you're no longer required to submit the bank statement. It will return back to the treasurers. Part of the confusion and some of the pain points that we experienced last year was the authentication process. So our goal this year was to create a process that allows you to upload bank statements while still remaining secure. Our hope and our desire is that we actually did that. And so as part of this conversation today, we will review that with you as well. Updated resources. So there is a treasure report template that we will show you today that you can use as preparation for your AFR process for 2025. And for 2026, you can use it throughout the year so that you can record all of your transactions in an effort to help you make the AFR submission process a lot smoother. We're going to introduce a glossary of terms this year. The glossary of terms will allow you to review each question in the AFR and identify exactly what we mean by that question with a brief definition and an example of what you need to put in that area. We will provide an example of a voucher just in case you don't already have one. We will talk in the treasurer training about a petty cash log. It will not be covered today. And then the AFR checklist. The AFR checklist is something that if you've completed the AFR before, you've seen. And so we just want to make sure that we keep that in front of you as you prepare for the AFR 2025. Higher engagement. So we've updated all of our email communications. We heard that sometimes our responses to you when we were asking for additional information was a bit confusing. So our goal this year is to reduce some of the language in it and be very specific as to what we need. Hopefully that'll help in getting the responses turned around quickly. The year-round access to the units and compliance team began at convention. So if you attended convention, you had the opportunity to meet with me or meet with any member of our team to discuss the AFR process. If your AFR wasn't completely finalized, we also made it available to you the bookings page from July through to December, the opportunity to meet with the units and compliance team to review that so that we can get you in financial compliance. We're continuing to do that process with bookings up until the end of January. In February, we will resume the Zoom sessions, which will allow us to do a larger audience and to ensure that all of our questions are answered at that time. The platform changes. So some of these things you've been asking for, and hopefully we're going to get it to you. We remove the zeros. We are attempting to reduce redundancy. We have revamped the password process. And with all of those changes, we moved to a different platform. And the move to the different platform was in an effort to reduce some of the lag, some of the concerns that you had with the resubmission. Our hope and our plan is to ensure that this has a little bit more of a stable opportunity for you so that you can submit, resubmit, and access the form as needed without any latency or any error messages popping up as frequently as they did in the past. Next slide. Why the annual financial report matters. So if you've read the Constitution and bylaws, you understand why it matters. If you are observing what's happening in the community and within our nation, you understand why it matters because we want to make sure that we are operating in service excellence to our community. And what does that mean? It doesn't mean perfection, but it does mean that we are doing what we need to do to ensure that we do not have any gaping gaps in our processes and that we are all operating and moving in the right direction. Next slide. Why we have oversight. Again, it's our current climate. The easiest thing that we can be attacked about is our finances. So I'm hoping that as unit officers, you don't want to be that unit that allows that opportunity for us to have someone inquire. So we're here to help to make sure that if you have any questions about your financial process, that we can answer them for you. We are that resource so that you can go and say, hey, I have this question about this. What do I need to do? Please continue to reach out to us. We're here to help. The 990 regulations also requires that as the parent company, we have some level of oversight and that we attest to that level of oversight. The glossary of terms. So we talked about this briefly when I did the introduction in terms of what changed. So it's a list of definitions to ensure we are using the same language to define words, terms frequently used when discussing the annual financial report. Now we're going to place this particular glossary of terms in different areas. So you will see it in the AFR for the InfoCon, and we'll talk and show you that. The bookkeeping guide, we're updating the bookkeeping guide and we're hoping to get that out to you shortly. It's an addendum in the bookkeeping guide. It will be updated on the unit compliance page as well as in the AFR portal with the relaunch of those pages in January of 2026. If you could please just pull up quickly the glossary of terms document that will be launched so that we can show the members on the webinar today. So the glossary of terms will have the the term, the definition, and whether or not it appears on the group 990. And this is what we'll upload for you. We'll show you also how it appears in the AFR when we go through the AFR process. Brahma, can you return back to the slide? Thank you. The next slide. The statement upload process. So like I mentioned before, it's returning to the treasurer to upload. We don't have storage limits so that from a upload process, I know we received some feedback that you couldn't upload anything else anymore at the beginning of the year. There's no more authentication, and it can be uploaded via a link on your Salesforce platform. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Wakefield so that he can show you exactly what that looks like and how to navigate to it.
Thank you so much, Nicole. Can you hear me?
Okay. I can.
Okay, perfect. Let me share my screen. All right. Now, I know this call we have a lot of treasures on this call. So I'm going to pull this up. Hopefully, you guys can see my screen.
We can.
Oh, well, no, I click stop share.
What we did.
We did, right? All right, now drop in the chat for me. What is this? I want to know who knows what this screen is. Drop it in the chat. What am I displaying? Come on now, I know we got some seeds and treasures that know.
We see
Hey
12,
now,
QuickBooks,
listen.
a
Yeah,
treasurer.
this is your treasurer dashboard in your Salesforce portal. So you already have access to this, people. You already have access to this. So when you log in, you can do it right now if you wanted to. But when you log in, you're going to now see a tab in your toolbar that says Upload Bank Statements. When you click that, it will take you to an Upload Bank Statements link. Once you click that, you will go into the bank statement upload portal. So let me move this stuff out the way so we can walk through exactly what this process looks like.
All right. So what Mr. Wakefield's pulled up is the portal that you will receive once you go in off of your dashboard. It will ask you to complete your name, your email address, and your unit number. If you click on the blue drop-down box for me, please,
Mhm.
it will provide you with unit numbers. And you will find your unit name and number, select the appropriate unit name and number, and then go from here to the statement upload process. We are requesting that you enter in some information from the bank statement that you're uploading, such as the beginning date of that statement, the ending date, the starting balance, the ending balance, your total deposits, your total credits. Once you complete all of that, you can drop your bank statement right there with the upload. You can do it in the various formats of a PDF, a JPEG, or a doc. So if you have a document that is less than 5 MB, it will absolutely accept it in those formats only. If your statement is larger than 5 MB, then you can split that up into multiple uploads, or you can compress the bank statement to upload in one document. The good thing about this is that you can upload up to 6 bank statements in one submission, as long as the total max size does not exceed 5 MB. If it does, then you would just need to go back into the form multiple times to upload it. But again, we're hoping that this process is smoother and easier for you. The security protocols that we have in the background of this allows this to transmit to us securely so that you don't have to worry about the authentication and things like that. We do encourage you to upload your bank statements once a month at when you receive them, at minimum quarterly. This is something that we've been reminding our branches and units to do since the top of the year. The other thing to keep in mind is what you're uploading is a detailed bank statement, not a summary statement. And so what the detailed bank statement will include would be the summary of deposits and credits, the list of transactions, as well as your canceled checks. If for any reason that you don't get canceled checks, you hopefully are doing online banking. And what I would ask that you do is look for the cancel check section of your online banking. If you don't have it available to you, simply ask your bank to make that option available to you for online banking. If you are receiving them via the mail still, we're asking that you scan and upload your bank statements into this repository system so that we can ensure that we get all of your bank statements. Here's the good news. You don't have to wait till January to start doing this. You can do this now as a way of preparing for the 2025 AFR season. You can go in and upload your bank statements now. It would be one less step that you have to do come January when we launch the AFR portal. Do we have any questions with regard to this process that either Mr. Wakeful or I could answer for you right now? Team, do we have any questions that we want to address immediately?
Yes, Nicole. To clarify, this access is only for the treasurer. There's a question asking, is this available to secretaries? No, this is not the secretary's responsibility. It is the treasurer's responsibility. Secretaries will still upload the treasury report to your SharePoint drive. But as far as in reference to AFR, your treasurer is the only person that has access to this link.
Absolutely. Thank you for that reminder. Do we have any other questions that we want to address?
There's a question, does the president have access to the portal? This is Salesforce. So if you have your Salesforce credentials, you have access to your Salesforce dashboard. It looks like a lot of portal questions. So Nicole, I'll just clarify. If you are newly elected and you do not have Salesforce access, I am dropping in the chat again that you must take training and receive credentials. I also want to reiterate, if you are putting questions in the chat, they will not get an answer. They must be placed in the Q&A. And I think also to Nicole, for you, there's a question about labeling of bank statements and if it has to be the original bank statements.
So the labeling of bank statements will happen on our end. That's why we're asking that you place in the form the specific information about the beginning date of the statement and certain amounts. Once you do that, we will label on our end so that we can find it in our repository rather quickly. So you don't have to do any additional labeling, but then just complete the form itself. If you have questions that need to be addressed by our units and compliance team, please email us at ufi@naacpnet.org. Team, if you could put that link or that email address in the chat for all of the participants today who may need access to that. Again, as Erica mentioned, you do need to have proper credentials in order to get into Salesforce. So you're going to work with her team to ensure that you've completed the training so that they can get you your access if you don't currently have it. Bronwyn.
I see two questions. One is about should the bank statements be original? And then the second one is asking, what do you mean by cancel checks?
So the bank statements will absolutely need to be the original statements. Remember, you're not mailing it to us. You're simply scanning and uploading what they send to you either monthly or quarterly. So we do not need like a transcript or a summary. We need the actual bank statement that has the details. What do I mean by cancel check? So any of those checks that you have written and they have been cashed, the bank holds a copy of that cash check. We need to be able to review that. So yes, this is not something new. It has been an expectation that we provide or that you provide us with the detailed bank statements. We have been reiterating and reminding individuals if we don't have what we need in order to properly review the AFR, we will reach back out and ask for that information. In doing so, it may delay the processing of your AFR because we need additional information. So our goal is to ask for the information in advance so that it can aid us to quickly review and respond to your submission so that we can get you compliant as quickly as possible.
Nicole, you're getting questions about what is canceled checks.
So a canceled check is a check that you've written to an individual or organization that the bank has cashed. And so we consider those canceled checks or issue checks. So it's an interchangeable term. Any other questions?
Yes, there are questions about prior statements, if they've already uploaded them.
Absolutely.
Do
So
they
if you've
upload
already
them?
uploaded the bank statements, no, you do not have to re-upload into this new portal. We will handle that on the back end. This is for those individuals who have not yet submitted all of their bank statements from January of 2025 through November. If you have the December one, please upload the December one into the new process. We will handle every other bank statement if we have it on our end. If we do not have it, do not email or upload into the system. Please use the portal that the AFR, I'm sorry, the bank statement process that we've introduced today moving forward. So I see that we have some questions still in the chat as well, but I think I just saw one in the QA about how do I know if we've missed a monthly upload? What you could do is reach out to our UFI team. We can take a look for you and tell you if there's anything missing, but we will only be able to respond if you reach out to us.
Nicole, just to clarify another question, will assistant treasurers have access? No, this is a Salesforce dashboard. So only secretaries have the membership access view. Only treasurers will have the upload access view.
Okay. I think we've answered most of the questions with regard to the new process for uploading bank statements. I see some questions with regard to Salesforce training, as Erica mentioned. Please reach out to her team in order to get that information scheduled if you don't have access. Again, she just reiterated exactly who will get it. Secretaries, rest assured, this is something that you no longer have to be focused on this year because we have returned this process back to the treasurers. Bronwyn, if you could return to the PowerPoint. I see the chat. All right, next slide. Treasurer report and AFR forms. So what we'll talk through in this slide will be a Treasurer Excel report that you can use in order to help you in preparing the 2025 AFR, as well as maintaining the 2026 data for the 2026 AFR process. We will also go through the AFR checklist. If you have submitted an AFR in years prior, you've seen the AFR checklist. There really hasn't been a lot of changes to that. It's just going to be used as a resource. And if you aren't currently using the voucher process, we're going to show you a voucher option that you can use. All of these documents will be made available to you at the top of the week next week. We will get them out as a separate email to the treasurers as well as the advisors. If you could start with the AFR checklist. All right. So this is what the AFR checklist looks like. It looks similar to what you saw in years prior. If you can continue to go down, it will ask you to collect certain pieces of documentation and preparation. All of your bills from 2024, all of the information with regard to who donated and their name and their information, because you want to collect that so that you can submit it into the AFR. The operating expenses you want to collect, the civic engagement and other expenses, as you have conducted events and activities throughout the year. If there are expenses associated with it, you want to make sure that you have a record of that. If there's fundraising or income associated with it, you want to have record of that. The assessments, if you had to pay them out to your state conference or to the national office, you want to make note of that. If you go back up really quickly to the assessment piece, I want to highlight something and I'll do it again in the AFR piece, but fundraising assessments paid during the AFR year. So what does this mean? If you are adhering to the bylaws, you know that there's a section in the bylaws that speaks to paying the assessment on any fundraising or any monies received, contributions or donations received throughout the year in a timely manner. And so if you're continuing to do that and you're adhering to that process, please make sure that you place that on the AFR. And the reason why you want to do that is because we apply those monies that you've sent to the national office as the percentage paid toward your annual financial report assessment dues, and we give you credit for it. If you don't do it, then we won't have anything to put there, and your assessment will be the full amount based on what you've done throughout the year. But just keep that in mind. We also want to see that on the form this year. If you can keep going down. Grant expenses. So if you have grant expenses, AXO, you've paid for the AXO activities. If you paid out scholarships that were restricted, please let us know what that looks like. And your income, please make sure that you're tracking the monies received as membership, restricted interest income, or donation contributions and fundraising. It's important to understand this classification when submitting the AFR. The other information you're going to need is going to be your employee information. It's going to be if you've completed documents for the IRS. Keep in mind the 990 is something that the national office submits. So if you have any other IRS documents that you are personally handling, please let us know what they are so that we can make sure that we have record of it here in the event that we may be called upon to speak to it. Keep in mind that also when we say cash balance on hand at December 31st of the prior year, it really just means January 1 of the top of the year that you're submitting the AFR. Cash balance at the end of December 31st of the year that you're submitting the AFR is important because what we do holistically is review your bank statements, review the information in your AFR, and what we determine is how accurate the submission of the AFR is based on the opening balance, the closing balance, as well as your withdrawals and deposits into your bank account. That's what we're really looking at on the AFR. So you want to make sure that that information is accurate. We ask that you provide us with some grace as well as having patience, not only with the process, but just to make sure that it doesn't become overwhelming or frustrating to you. Tips for successful record keeping. Keep electronic or detailed records that are stored or upload monthly for quick and easy access to the same place. And the reason why we ask you to do that is because at times when we look at your report, we may ask you for specific information about something that is on there, or an event or an activity. And so if all of your records are maintained in the same format and in the same location, you can quickly access it. Review your books frequently for abnormal changes and familiarize yourself with the practices of your unit. And what does that mean? It means that you understand how everyone operates, especially from a checks and balances perspective financially, so that when we go to talk and discuss and review it, you are fully versed in what has taken place. What I like to tell people is your AFR is a story. It tells the story of your activity throughout the year. of your branch and unit. So if we take a look at your AFR and there's no membership increase or there's no activities, then it leads the story to kind of be told that there may not have been a lot of movement within the branch that year, or there's no activity. But if you absolutely did work in the community and you did fundraising and you increased your membership, we want to see that. And it needs to be shown on your AFR. Bronwyn, if you could pull the treasurer report up. So this is a document we introduced during some of the state conferences where we introduced to you a Excel document that you could use to track the same information that's on your AFR for your personal records. So for those of you who may not already use a bookkeeping system that has this information auto-populated or pulled for you, we're providing a strictly optional treasurer, what we call treasurer's Excel report that you can use to track the information. It's going to track it by account number if you have more than one account. It's going to track it by category so that we can identify and you can identify the specific categories that are associated with the form. And when you go to complete the form, you can just transfer the information from here to the form. If you could scroll down, each area on this that is in the dark gray area, they're hard coded so that you cannot type in it. The area that you see the dashes are the areas that you can type in. As you type in, the blue information will auto-populate for you and do your calculations on your behalf. This report will show you monthly as well as quarterly and summary. So if you could type something in and then go to the Q1 in any of the fields. For individual, just absolutely, thank you. Scroll down. Scroll down. Total income is there, total expenses. You'll see expense sections. Keep going down. You'll see at the bottom of each of them the total expenses, the total income, and the end of month bank balance. And so the end of month bank balances should reflect what you have on your bank statements. And the way that it will do that is by making sure that all of the fields in terms of your opening balances and things like that are populated here. If you go to Q4 summary, Q4 and scroll over, Q4 summary will give you the summary of transactions based on that quarter. If you need to summarize or create a summary report based on quarters, you have it. If you need to do a summary report based on the month, you can use this information to absolutely create that type of reporting for your members. At the end of the year, if you select the year end report will summarize every month that you have to date in this form. We encourage the use of it for those who may not have a system of record keeping that mimics the AFR. In an effort to make the AFR process smoother, you can use this document to enter the information and then map this over to your AFR, which should reduce the amount of time you're spending in submitting the AFR, as well as reduce some of the levels of anxiety or stress that this process may give you. Because again, our goal is not to make this process more stressful for you, but to create resources and tools for you to make this process of submission easier. Again, the summary reports are all grayed out because you are not able to enter it in the summary. You are asked to enter it in by month. Are there any questions, team, with regard to the Excel document that we can answer or that we need to answer?
Questions they were asking, could the document be enlarged? When can they get a copy of the document?
So I can answer that question. So our goal is to get this document out to you at the top of next week. so that you will have it. It will go out in a blast from the national office to our treasurers and advisors.
And just for those that are saying, if you're not receiving any emails, I want to remind you that your secretary must have completed an officer update form. The first thing the team does is check to make sure you have an active membership in the system before emails are sent out to you that are specific to officer positions. So please check to make sure you are listed as your current position in the portal, you have an active membership, and check with your secretary on completing the officer update form.
I had one question. Can you add other sections to the Excel spreadsheet?
The Excel spreadsheet right now is currently locked. What, if you could elaborate in the Q&A, what sections you're looking for? We can take it under advisement and see if we can add it, but the goal for the form is to design it in a way that allows you to quickly transfer this information over into your AFR when we go to upload the AFR data. I see a chat question about where do we find the officer update forms? Are we able to provide that to them specifically?
Yeah, it should be on we have it listed it's probably on the website, and then the secretaries have it, but we can push one out again to all secretaries. It's not changed, it's the same link.
So I see a question about, are you required to upload the form for 2025 or to start the process in 2026? That is strictly up to you. Honestly, this is just a resource and a tool. If you choose to use the information for 2025, you can. If you want to use it for 2026, you can. As of today, we're not requiring that this document be sent to us. So it is to be used at your discretion. All right, I think I answered most of the questions about the form.
Oh, sorry, Nicole. Someone
Alright.
did ask if using QuickBooks or similar software is recommended by the national office.
So we don't have a requirement on any process as of today. If you're using QuickBooks, absolutely, I think is a good tool to use. What I would encourage you to do is mimic the fields within QuickBooks and link them to how we have them set up on the AFR so that the transition between QuickBooks and the AFR would reduce the level of lift. All right, so I think the last thing that we have to talk about is really quickly the voucher. Now, the voucher that I'm about to display for you isn't a required document that you use this exact voucher. If you have a voucher system in place, continue to use it. This is just an option for those individuals who do not have and should be using the voucher process, and you need a reference document to start in using that. So what I have here is a example of a voucher form. We encourage that you use your NAACP logo and enter your unit name, address, and telephone number along with your unit email on all of the forms that you create. You want to complete the voucher number, the requester, the position address, and there are different areas within this form that would talk about what you need to complete based on the activity for which you're using the voucher system for. It also has the availability at the bottom of the form to complete the information about the check as well as who approved it. So again, if you already have a voucher system in place, this is not necessary. This is just as a reference document for those individuals and branches or chapters who do not have a voucher system in place and wanted to know what a sample voucher could look like or should look like. We will make this available to you as well. This document, when we send it out, you can edit it so that you can upload the information necessary for you to make it personalized to your chapter or branch. If we could return to the PowerPoint. The voucher form will also be part of that blast that we will send out at the top of the week. All right, so here's what you all have been waiting for. The AFR form and its platform changes. So we talked about some of this already. The password revamp. So in years past, we asked you to save the document every 30 minutes. And you had to enter your email address and a password every time. Sometimes that would get a little confusing because of just situations where we may have keyed something incorrectly and there was access issues. Once again, we are one location for every time you got to go back to the form. We're asking that you create an account. And as you create the AFR, you're going to create a password for it. If you want to share that information with your fellow officers for their review, you can do that as well. But again, the password revamp was necessary to ensure the stability and security of you entering into that form and not allowing other people who did not have that information shared with them to get into the form. In the event that you have an issue with recovering that password, we're still able to assist you and get you that information as necessary. Returning to the form, like I mentioned, it's one stop. You go back to the same place. There's no longer going to be scenarios where I'm going to ask you to go back into an email and look for a link in an email. No, we're always going to send you back to the AFR portal so that you can return to correct, update, or continue to make payment. All of that is going to go from the AFR portal, and you will get to that portal the same way every time. Reduce redundancies. So when entering information about your income and expenses, you won't have to do it twice. You're only going to have to enter it once, and it will map to the appropriate areas when necessary so that you don't have to enter it again. Removing the zeros. So if you've been with us for a few years, you know that there are scenarios, and we've had them in the past, where your form would show up with 79, 80 errors, and it's because you didn't enter the zeros. This year, you don't have to touch those zeros. If that section did not pertain to you, you can leave it blank. If in the section, say for instance, for fundraising, you didn't have to enter in zeros for every event that you didn't have. You're going to leave it alone, and it's going to reduce hopefully the amount of time you spend and the reduced number of errors in it. So that was our goal when introducing the changes to the form. And hopefully, again, it's an easier use process and it reduces the amount of time you spend. Bronwyn, if you could go to the AFR website or the national website, AFR forum, and we'll start there. So when you go to submit the AFR, you're going to go to the national website and select using the search icon, annual financial report. It will bring you to this page. This is the same page we've been using for the last few years for you to access the AFR. We will update all of the information on this form when we relaunch the AFR portal in January. Again, this is not live, and you cannot access it or use it or submit your 2026 AFR yet. I would be remiss if I didn't also mention in the communication that was sent out, I want to tell you last week, in the effort to revamp everything and upload our new process, the AFRs, if you're still working with my team to finalize your prior year AFRs, the deadline for that is Monday. If you are still in pending payment on Monday, that will be the last day that you can make payment to become financially compliant in 2025. The forms in the process will not be accessible after December 8th. We are closing it so that we can take the time and have our IT team go in and thoughtfully update and upload this form for you to use at the top of the year in January. With that said, if you have any issues in between time, we're going to ask that you reach out to us so that we can schedule time to meet with you once the system re-uploads and becomes available. For all of you who have saved links to our forms and our documents for AFR for years prior, delete them. They are no longer going to be able to be accessed. And when we go into this new form in 2026, anything that you've used years prior will not come over to us. So if you are not accessing the AFR using the Submit Your Report form in January of 2026, for 2025, we will not get your AFR. We will not have access to it. And we're going to ask you, if you said you submitted it and we don't see it, it's because you're using an old form. With all of that said, once we send out the communication that says the AFR is live, you're going to come to this page and click on Submit Your Report. If you could go to check your password, absolutely. Once you hit that report page, it's going to take you to a page that's going to ask you to enter your email address and then one other piece of information. It's then going to tell you to check your email box. Once you check your email box, it will give you a link to set your password. Once you set your password, you will be good to go. And this system will take you to the home page. If you could hit the home page for me. The home page is going to be the page where you will see your resources. You can complete the AFR. You can make AFR payments once we accept your data. You can schedule office hours with us through the office hour sign up. And this is where you will also come back to go back into your form to make corrections. So all of that will be in this one-stop location. You will not need to go looking for links to get back to the form. None of that. We are eliminating that process in an effort to make this process smoother and easier for you to access. Now, to create a new annual financial report, you're going to select New Annual Financial Report 2025. Bronwyn, let's start with the 911 unit. Let's see. Hit next page. The same information that we've had in years prior. You want to confirm the unit name and the year because you will have the opportunity to submit the 2024, the 2025 AFR. If you have an AFR that was not submitted and you weren't recently chartered or reactivated for 2023, 2022, and you also need to do 24 or 25, you're going to need to reach out to us because we're going to need to determine what your appropriate next steps will be before you complete the AFRs. Next page. You see how it says it appears an AFR matching this year and unit number has already been submitted? This is intentional. So if you already have an AFR on file for us, you're going to get this note because you're not going to create a new one. You're going to go back and resume your existing AFR. And this is the way of notifying you that we already have it on file and that you need to hit the resume button in order to complete your AFR. By clicking the resume button, it's going to ask you for the unit lookup again. So you're going to do the same unit number we just entered, the year, and the AFR password. Click next, and then it'll take you back to the form. If we can go back to home again, new annual financial report. Let's try the 999 for 2025. All right. Next page. Next page. So this is where you're going to begin once you confirm all of the information. It's going to ask you if you have an EIN. If you say yes, and we have verified that EIN on file, it will auto-populate. I need you to confirm that the EIN number that we have matches from the last 4 digits. If it's different, then we need to make sure that we understand that. This is where you're going to be asked for the password. Create the password for the form. Click next page. You need this screen enlarged. Brahman, are you able to enlarge your screen?
I'm not
If you're
sure.
not,
I
what
don't think I can.
okay. So what I would encourage is that as we go through this process on your display, if you could increase your display at the bottom right. I don't think we can, Brahman.
Yeah, I was trying to read the chat. Some people were telling me how to do it, and I was trying, and it didn't work for me. And I'm gonna try one more time. I don't think I can.
So if you hit the control or command button on your computer and scroll up or down, that should enlarge what you're seeing with us. You should see the plus or minus sign increase. Brahman, I don't know if that will help you in increasing it.
It did not. That's what I tried.
Yeah. We will also reproduce this for you and send out the video so that you can take a look at it and increase it once you're looking at it that way. All right. So as we go through this form, this will be the page 2 that will take you to the questions for the form. What I want to introduce you to first is some of the auto-populated fields that we have. In addition to perfect. Thank you. Is that
I
good?
I appreciate the chats. Thank you.
Hopefully that's better for everyone. If we could see thumbs up to make sure that we've increased that size for you. Perfect. What you see here is that we have auto-populated where we can, and we will continue to increase the auto-population for you to reduce the fields that you complete. Unit type is auto-populated for you, so the things that are in gray are populated automatically, and you will not need to complete. The info link, so that I box, if you could hover over that. Remember when I said the glossary of terms was incorporated into your AFR form? When you want to know what the definition of a form means or the question, click on that info box next to the question. If you can click on it, it will provide you with the definition and an example of what we're looking for there. And so for this one, if you are a recently chartered or reactivated unit between January 1 and December 31st, if you could X out of the box, click yes, and then answer the rest of the questions. There's a new feature for those who are recently recharted or activated. So for those of you who have units that were recharted or activated in 2025, click no if you don't have a bank account. If you have a bank account, provide us with that. But hit NA for these 2 questions, and we will go back and go through this in more detail in 2 seconds. I just want to show you that for those units that are recently chartered or reactivated, it bypasses all of your questions. We need the AFR on file to ensure that you are part of our Group 990 by obtaining your EIN information and your officer information here. So once you complete the form in this manner, it's going to ask you to complete the very last page of the AFR by submitting the president, the secretary, and the treasurer information. Once you do that and hit the submit button, you're done. We will get the AFR and then go from there with communicating with you next appropriate steps. If you could go down to the bottom, Brahma, we're going to modify that first question. Hit previous page, click no, and then scroll down to accounts. So each question you have to answer on this page. What I want to show you here is if you have an account, we want to specifically talk about what you have had in 2025. These next few questions with regard to your bank account is only referencing the activity in 2025, not since the inception of your unit. So if you have more than one account, numerically tell me the number of accounts and then list for me and Brahma type as we talk here, your account number and the account name. so that we know which ones that we're looking for. If you want to also tell us that it's with Savings First Bank and it is your operating account, let us know if you have more than one account, what that account is used for. Once you've entered all of that information, we're going to ask you for the total cash balance on hand as of December 31st, the previous year. That also means January 1 of the current year. Add up every one of your opening balances based on your bank statements and give me the total of the opening balances here. Keep in mind, again, even when it comes to uploading bank statements, we're only uploading bank statements for 2025 unless you are completing an AFR that is a prior year. Then you want to give me the year's worth of bank statements for whatever the year AFR you're completing. Then you're going to hit the next page. Once you get to this page, your AFR is going to automatically save. And if you inquire about it, we will see that you are in draft form on our end with your AFR. So this is the process that we're using to eliminate the save and resume. What we have told people in the past is if you have a stable internet connection, when working through this, you're fine. But now, even if you don't, because you've saved it and gotten this far, you should be able to hit the resume button and go back to your form at any time. So therefore, there is no more of you needing to go back in and doing the save and resume or saving the form every 30 minutes. We've taken it and eliminated that process. So with this, again, the info bar is available to you for every question. You can go through it before you answer the questions to determine whether or not this section is applicable to you. If it is applicable to you, select yes. And then enter in the grant type if you received grants. And tell me whether or not it's federal, state, or local or other, the name of the donor, the address, the amount, if you have the donor EIN, and the IRC section, if it's an exempt organization. If you have more than one grant, select yes, and it will give you the opportunity to add additional grants and if you receive them throughout the year. Keep in mind, if you have grants, we are going to ask you for your information with regard to the grant, unless it is a grant issued to you from the national office. We do need it to be identified. That's why we ask you for the name of the donor. If not, we will ask you for the award letter or the memorandum of understanding for the restricted income. It's something that we have continued to educate on and will continue to educate on as we go through this process. For this, exactly, thank you. Scholarships. So when you answer yes to restricted scholarships, these are scholarships that we're talking about that an individual or an organization has come to you as a branch or a chapter and said, I want a scholarship in the name of, say, my late family member. And I want this amount awarded to an individual for these circumstances and this particular scholarship name. That is the only way that you should have restricted scholarship. If you are soliciting for a scholarship fundraising or any of those, that's going to go under your fundraising events. This is if someone comes to you unsolicited about initiating a scholarship in the name of an organization or individual, you're going to place those funds here. Bronwyn, if you can go to no so that we don't have to enter that. Advertising income. Select the info icon here. I know a lot of you in the past have asked about what is advertising income? What do I put here? So we provided for you a definition as exactly what we're looking for here. If you have it, select yes. If you don't, select no. The next page. Schedule A employment. So for all of the units that have employees or who have employed people in the year 2025, you're going to select yes. If you select yes, all of the information that we need income and expense wise will be completed here for those employees. If you've had more than one employee, you want to say yes, enter in the information. And then once you're done entering in the information that we ask for here, scroll down just a little bit. We're going to ask you for the expenses. Once you complete this section, we're not going to ask you for any more information about your employees. It's one stop. We're reducing redundancy. You will not have to go through this question again. So again, just keep in mind, you want to look at the InfoCon by topic first to determine if you need to select yes or no. Schedule B contributions look a little different this year. If you select yes, you'll see that we're still going to ask you for individual organization. The difference is going to be that all Schedule B contributions, it's not going to be a capped dollar amount this year because we want to eliminate you having to enter it in here and then again under the fundraising section. Once you enter information in here, we're going to put one in just for operating purposes. If you could type in information for the organization, perfect. So once you enter in that, if you have additional ones, you want to select yes. If not, you can continue with the no. And then next page. Your membership information. So those units that have overages that come from us, you're going to put that information here. You're going to see that it also matches what's on your bank statement. And then the member income. This is the section that you're going to put the total amount of membership money that you received throughout the year here, not the amount of money minus what you sent to the national office. We want every membership that you received, the total amount of that in that section. It will auto-populate for you. The gray areas, again, do not require your submission because it will populate for you. Restricted income. Now, this is going to be the other areas that we didn't cover in the prior question. So if you select yes, we're talking AXO, civic engagement. And then the question again around federal or state grants. So if you have AXO money or back to school, stay in school money, you're going to put it here. If you have civic engagement monies that you received, you're going to put it here. Again, it's the total for the year. It will auto-populate. If you had interest income on your accounts, you're going to select yes or no. It's going to tell you. Perfect, Bronwyn. Thank you. Donations and fundraising income. Remember when you put the money in on the other side for contributions and donations, it's going to auto-populate for the unrestricted contribution section. So if you're receiving cash donations at a fundraising event, you don't want to put it on the other side. You want to put it under the event. If you just have someone mailing you a check to sustain your branch, then you want to put it in the contributions and donations section on the other side so that it auto-populates here. But if you had, say, a Freedom Fund, all monies received at that Freedom Fund or towards that Freedom Fund will go here. The same thing with any of the other events that we identify here. If you scroll down for me and where it says other fundraising, if you put anything in any of the categories that lead with other, we will require a comment at the bottom that tells me what it is. In order to continue to keep the process of your AFR review moving, please make sure that there are comments if you use the other section at any time. If you don't, it's going to reduce it's going to increase the amount of time it takes us to review it because we're going to send it back to you asking you for detailed explanations around any of the other sections so we understand exactly what it is. We've added state conference fundraising income for you in the event that you are a state conference. That is the section for which you can use to identify those funds. Scroll down for me. Next page. Part 2 expenses. If you don't currently have a facility, you want to select no. But if you have a facility, then the questions in the facility section will be asked of you. You're still going to have to upload your lease and tell us how much you're paying for your rent, your insurance, repairs and maintenance, as well as utilities. If you notice, the areas for which we don't have an answer for or we haven't used throughout the year, they have zeros there. We're not typing over them. We're not deleting them. We're letting them stay where they are so that you don't have to worry about going back and making an adjustment to every one of the fields if they do not apply to you. Office expenses, most units have office expenses simply because you have a P.O. box. So you want to make sure that you're entering in the appropriate amounts for every area on your form and aligning it appropriately to what you've done throughout the year. If you don't have anything else in the section, just leave it blank. It will auto-populate and will not require you to add the zeros. The national and state convention expenses, if you didn't attend a national or state convention, you won't have these expenses. But if you did, you want to select yes and appropriately respond based on the InfoCon's definition and what you did attend or someone who represented your unit attended. All right. Thank you. Membership expenses. So if you have received memberships into your unit, you're going to select yes, because if you've received them into your unit, then you've sent the national office their split. And so once you select yes, you're going to enter in the amount sent to the national office. And if you received memberships based on a membership drive, you're going to put that amount in there as well. Absolutely. So we're going to stop here on national assessments really quickly. I think I mentioned it to you when we talked about the AFR checklist. So if you have fundraising assessments paid, this is the area, you don't have to put it in right now, Bronwyn, but this is the area for which you're going to put it in. And the reason why you're going to put it in here is because it will calculate on your total assessment and determine exactly how much you owe by subtracting that amount that's in that section from your total amount due. We will verify that information as you put it in there just to ensure that the form is correctly being submitted. So if you want to hit no and then hit no for the rest of it, civic engagement, you can select no. Grants and scholarships, you can select no. And then any of your fundraising expenses, you want to put in here as we go along so that we can deduct the amount that it costs you to facilitate any of your events or activities to determine what your net fundraising is, because that's what we look at. We don't necessarily look at the total amount that you received without looking at how much it cost you in order to obtain it. And the other thing to keep in mind is if even you received monies to do a scholarship, and you put that in scholarship fundraising, put the amount that you awarded out in as well, and it will balance itself out. So I wouldn't worry or be concerned with, well, I'm going to be taxed on or assessed on this, and this. If your AFR is submitted as accurately as possible, some of the things and activities based on what you did from fundraising and bringing in donations, if you've applied it appropriately, it will only assess based on your net, not necessarily the total amount of money you brought in. General expenses. The general expenses are going to be your executive committee meetings, any of your fees, your bank fees, if it's an operating cost to maintain your bank account, your tax fees, your contributions and donations to other individuals and organizations, and then other. And so if you look at the info icon under other, there is a definition. So I know someone just asked if there's a definition to be added to the other section. We do have that. And then what you want to do is if you can click out of that, scroll down. Again, if you have anything in any of the other areas, you absolutely need to make sure that at the end of each of the sections, you provided a detailed explanation as to what you've used the other category for your income and for your expenses. Each area will give you the opportunity to provide us with those explanations. Next page. So your fund balance analysis, you'll see, is all grayed out because these are numbers that are calculated based on what you've placed on the prior pages. So if any of the information on the prior pages is incorrect, the fund balance analysis will be incorrect as well. So you'll see that we'll pull from page 2 of the AFR, your starting balance. We'll pull from the total income and total expenses to determine what your net income was, and then your total cash balance on hand at December 31st. Keep in mind, this number should match what you show on your bank statement as of December 31st of that AFR year. Is the bank account interest bearing? So are any of your accounts interest bearing? You want to select yes if they are, and tell us how much interest you earned on that account. For this purpose, if you could select no, and then we're going to ask you to upload bank statements. And so this is just to signify that you've done that. Here's the thing. If you don't have bank statements on file with us, we can't do anything with your AFR. It's going to sit until we have both pieces. So a successfully submitted AFR is in 2 parts, the form and the bank statement. If we're missing either one of those, then a successful submission of your AFR is not possible. Page 7. We'll conclude with that information, and then page 8 will be the assessment calculation. And this again will be grayed out and tell you what, based on the submissions, based on your membership count, based on the date you submitted it, what you owe. If there is a balance owing from the prior year, you will need to make sure that that is also taken care of in order for you to be compliant for this year. So if we don't have a balance paid in full from your prior year's AFR, you will see it in this section that's called current residual amount owed or owing, and we will add that to your AFR. If for some reason we owe you, then you'll see a credit there and it will deduct from your current AFR. You want to remember to include your preparer's email address. So in the event that we need more information or something is incomplete or unclear, we use that preparer's email address to communicate with that person so that we can get the detailed information that we need to continue to move your review along. Again, the longer it takes you to reply, the longer it takes us to get you into a accepted AFR status so that you can make payment. Once you do all of that, the next page will be the final page that you have to complete. And this is going to be the signature page for the president, the treasurer, and the secretary. You want to acknowledge that all 3 have reviewed what was submitted to ensure understanding and accuracy of it based on the lens for which you're observing it from as the president, as the secretary, and as the treasurer. Brahma, we're not going to go ahead and submit this, but for time's sake, that's what it looks like. Once you've completed this, you're going to complete the submit button. And once you hit submit, it will come over to us. I want to go through with you a few more pages in the presentation so that you can identify where you are in the form. But before we go back to that, if we could hit the home button really quickly, I want to cover one more thing before we leave the portal. Click more. It says office hour sign up. So if you select office hour sign up, before we needed to send out blasts to you so that you could complete a form, the form for you to submit to meet with us via Zoom starting in February is going to also be on this link and then in this portal. You're going to complete the form and we will get you the Zoom links as we have in the past out. We will identify why you're coming in so that we will have the appropriate parties in the Zoom to address your questions as quickly as possible. So again, anything related to your AFR will be found in the AFR portal. The AFR portal does not go live until January 2026. So we cannot send you a link. You cannot begin processing your AFR for 2026 until we make it live. The only thing that you can do right now in preparation for your AFR is to collect your information, to send us your bank statements, and if you want to do it, the treasurer report Excel document that we will send to you at the top of the week next week. If we can go to the PowerPoint really quickly. Higher engagement. So we talked about it. The Zooms will begin in February and will run through June. Bookings will run through January, but keep in mind, because there are no AFR sessions between December 8th and January 15th. If you still need an EIN, we're absolutely here to help you with that. We can go ahead and schedule appointments for you to talk through how to schedule time with our team to get a new EIN. If you have questions about your current EIN, you want to schedule time with Robin so that we can go through that and make sure that you have the correct EIN and that you have whatever you need from a documentation purpose to maintain that. Our quarterly meetings will begin in Q3. If you go back real quick. And then updated communications. So the updated communications, like I said, our email responses we're aiming to make them a lot more clear and succinct. If you could show the bookings page so that we can walk people through how to do that and drop the bookings link in the chat. The link that the team is going to drop in the chat will take you to this page. Now, because we are moving into a scenario where you will not be able to submit the AFR or any corrections after Monday, what I will encourage you all to focus on, if you have questions, will be your EIN discussions with Robin. That means you already have an EIN. If you already have an EIN, then you want to select that button. If you think you have an EIN, but you don't know what that number is, you want to select that button. If you know you don't because you're recently chartered or reactivated, or you're a youth unit and you're trying to obtain a bank account, for any reason, you want to do a new EIN appointment request. Thank you for giving the definitions up there. Also absolutely helpful. These sessions should not take more than 10 to 15 minutes, 20 minutes max. We've allotted 30 minutes because of questions and answers that we may need to provide to you. These sessions here are available to you in in Teams. It does not mean that you need to download the Teams application. You want to do the Teams application via the website. Once you select the button that says new EIN, you can do any staff because any staff member can help you. You don't need to select a person, but what you do want to do is select a time that works best for you. We have multiple times and multiple dates available. Pick the date, pick the time. And then once you do that, scroll down, please. We're going to ask you to complete this profile. So you're going to enter in your information. You're going to provide me with your unit number and your unit name. Click the booking session through book, and we will get to you a link and confirmation of the date, the time, and where you're going to go to meet with a member of the team. When we do individual sessions through bookings for your AFR, what I would encourage you to do to reduce confusion is to select. You can click on that. I don't believe we have anything available though. You want to select the staff person that is sending you the email so that it will reduce the amount of time spent in conversation so that everyone who is working it becomes up to speed. If you don't, and we find that you selected, say, for instance, Bronwyn, but someone else on the team is working your AFR, you may find that your AFR appointment is being moved to someone else who is actually more familiar with your review so that it will reduce the amount of time it takes them to get up to speed on what you're inquiring about. Thank you. If we can go back to the PowerPoint. Again, quarterly meetings. And so in Q3, after convention, we will open up and make our teams available to you to not only discuss if you still have an outstanding 2025 AFR, but we will also open up the conversation around your 2026 AFR so that you can begin preparing to submit that. Our goal is to continue to allow this process to be smoother and easier for you. so that you don't have to worry about what happened a year ago, but what most likely happened a couple of months ago when we go into our quarterly meeting. So we will make ourselves available to you so that you can meet with us at any time to discuss anything with regard to the submission of your AFR. Our goal is to allow you to upload starting the 2026 AFR in real time so you don't have to wait till the top of the year. Again, that's our goal. We're not quite there yet, but that's what we're working towards. Next slide. So stages of the AFR process, I wanted to share this with you so that you understand what we see and what you're looking at when you look at your Salesforce dashboard. So you want to match the status that you see in the Salesforce portal dashboard with the stage of your AFR. If you don't see draft or you don't see a status, it means that it wasn't started or we don't have it. When you see AFR submitted, received, it means that it successfully went over into the review status for the team. If it says in process, it means that a member of the team is currently reviewing it and will get back to you shortly. Additional information, that means that we've already taken a look at it and we have questions or we're missing documentation. So therefore, you need to go back to the emails address that you provided for direction in terms of next steps, what we're missing, what we're asking for, or what we need clarification on. Pending payment, congratulations. We've accepted the data that you submitted in your AFR and you're ready to make payment. Once you make payment, your AFR status will flip to approved. Now that payment needs to be the full payment amount that we requested based on your annual review and the total assessment amount. If anything less than a total assessment amount is not paid, you will not get flipped to approve everything. So just keep those things in mind when looking, and hopefully this allow you to be more self-serving based on your AFR dashboard without waiting on us to provide you with an update. You can see that in the Salesforce dashboard. Next slide. All right, the National Compliance Timeline. What I want to do is walk through with you the timeline for 2026 so that you'll have an idea of what we're working towards. January is when the AFR portal will open. Again, it will not open before then. So asking for credentials or access to the AFR portal before then, we don't have it. You won't have it. You won't need credentials from us to get into the AFR portal once we make it available to you in January. In February, field office hours will begin via Zoom only. So you will begin requesting Zoom sessions with us by registering, similar to what you've done in years prior. And we will be there as a team to support you in your questions for membership compliance as well as financial compliance to get you to a status of being prepared and eligible for convention. March is the AFR submission deadline. So all AFRs are required to be submitted by March 1st to avoid a late fee. It does not mean that your AFR has to be approved by March 1st, but it has to be submitted. I'm going to encourage you now, do not wait until March 1st to submit your AFR and then reach back out 2 days later and ask the status. Because if everybody waits till the last minute to submit it, it will create a delay in us getting through all of them at the same time. So as we open this portal in January, please begin working through it and submitting it and working with us and communicating with us, especially if you know that there's going to be corrections needed. Get on it early. Reach out to us early so that we can help you with it. When we open it in January, that's when you want to start submitting. So start preparing your data now. March will be the membership compliance deadline as well. So the membership compliance for convention will be March 31st, 2026. July will be the financial compliance deadline. So the start of the 117th National Convention is when we cut the date for you to be financially compliant to be on the Group 990 as a financially compliant unit. So again, all roads lead to the Group 990, and hopefully all roads for you lead to the 117th National Convention as delegates so that we can see you there in Chicago. What questions do we have? Team, do we have anything that we need to talk through?
I have a couple questions. Can a branch utilize an ActBlue account?
Why are you using the ActBlue? And so what I would ask and encourage you to do is reach out to us directly if you are using the ActBlue, just to talk through that and make sure that we are all aligned in terms of its purpose and how you're reporting it.
Also, who is responsible for the voucher?
From what perspective? And the reason why I say from what perspective, so the voucher should be maintained and stored by the secretary, but the agreement for the payment is a collective effort. Again, the voucher requires multiple signatures for awareness and approval.
Yes, that was actually what they wanted to know.
Mhm.
Are non-restricted grants assessed?
They are. But again, if you're using the grant as expected, then there is expenses associated with it that will balance out or even wipe out that whole amount given so that it does not contribute to the amount that you're paying in the assessment if you have the expenses appropriately allocated.
Okay. Also, when a unit has a fundraiser, where do we go to pay the national assessment during the year? I think that's a good question for
It
everyone.
is. It's an awesome question. So for those units who have fundraisers throughout the year and you want to send us the national assessment portion of that, you want to mail that payment to the 4805 Mount Hope Drive address, Baltimore, Maryland, 21215. If someone could drop that in the chat, that's where your payments will go. You can send it in the form of a check. In that check, please make sure that you notate that it is your fundraising assessment and your unit number. Any other questions?
Yes. Can an assistant treasurer do the AFR?
So the assistant treasurer can support the treasurer in completing the AFR. If there's a reason why the treasurer cannot do it, then absolutely work with the national office, talk to us and communicate out why, and they can absolutely do it.
And next question, can a unit use PayPal?
A unit can use PayPal as a pass-through. It is not a bank. And so your money should not be stored in any pass-through accounts. So if you're using PayPal, Cash App, Square, or any of those types of systems to receive money electronically, the money should not sit in those accounts. Those monies should be requested to be transferred into your unit bank account at all times. So PayPal cannot be used as a bank account because it is not a structured bank.
Understood. Last question. Can a person have dual roles within a branch, such as a secretary and an assistant treasurer?
I'm going to answer this question on behalf of the field team. No.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Yes. So we have a great deal of questions about when when and where can they get the Excel sheet, the Excel treasurer's report?
Mm-hmm.
That's one.
So we are going to issue that out at the top of the week. So look for it to come out. Make sure that we have your email address correct. It will go to the treasurers and the advisors.
The second question was about the bookings link, but we did put that in the chat, so that should be taken care of. Someone actually,
Go to Brahma really quickly. If you move to the next slide.
okay, got you. There you go.
So here are the QR codes for the AFR webpage as well as the bookings. If you want to take a snapshot of this, you can use your camera to access those two pages as well, if that helps. Any other questions?
I like this question. Someone did ask if a grant goes multiple years, how do I show that in the AFR?
So if the grant goes multiple years, what we would need would be the award letter, and you would include in the AFR funds that came in 2025. So if you received funds in 2024, that's fine, but we only need to account for what came into the account in the current AFR year.
If a unit was reactivated in December of 2025, will they need to file a report, an AFR report?
You will need to submit it. However, you will not be required to do anything beyond the submission process. The AFR does not require payment for newly rechartered or activated units. We are asking that you do submit one this year, and that is simply to include you on the Group 990 so that your EIN number that you've attained will not go dormant.
The last question we see is about Christian's email address for email blocked problems. I'm not sure I fully understand that one.
If someone could go in from the field team and address that question, I think we'll be able to do that offline. If your bank does not include canceled checks in the bank statements, all you have to do is request it. They'll provide it to you. All right. Hopefully we've answered all of your questions. Hopefully this was information that you needed, that you will find helpful in completing the AFR. If we have not answered any of your questions or all of your questions with regard to the submission process for 2025's AFR, please again use the email address that you see on the screen, the ufi@naacpnet.org. Field all questions with regard to an AFR to that mailbox. We will do our best to promptly respond to you. The presentation will be made available to you via a video link by the end of the month. I have a few more sessions that I need to go through. Once we do that, we will make a video available to you to review it in the event that a member of your unit or branch was not able to attend. They will be able to go back and look at it. The resources that we talked about and showed today will be available to you next week. And we will send that out in an email blast communication. If you don't have it by Friday of next week, please email ufi@naacpnet.org and we will ensure that you get it. Thank you for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday and happy AFR submissions. Have a nice day.